we are getting ready to welcome in Mr. Kevin Rupp. I'm not sure who you. No, I'm kidding. Mr. Rupp and I know each other a little bit. I really enjoy our relationship because he gives me heck every time I talk to him or see him, which is a great thing for someone like me. So Kevin has lived in Hayes for 64 years, receiving his associate's degree from Fort Hays State University before going out into the workforce as a sanitation engineer with his father. He later sold books at Gulliver's Books at the mall, married the love of his life, Joyce Gatchett, worked in maintenance department at TMP, all before finally becoming a full-time employee at St. Joseph's Catholic Church here in Hayes as their organist and liturgist. Not able to have children, Kevin and Joyce enjoyed the company of fine, loving schnauzers. Those are fun little dogs. I had one growing up. So what are their names, Kevin?
Oh, now you're going to put me on the spot.
Well, this is better than you going, what are your kids' names? And being like, oh.
Well, there's Shotzi, Bear, Gertie, Hammy,
and can't think of the fifth one.
I can't think of the fifth.
That's
one.
Okay. Are they still alive right now?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Wow.
Isn't that awful? You can't remember your kids' names.
Now I put you on the spot, and now your wife is going to be like, are you kidding me? Sorry.
Exactly.
So I already got you in trouble, and the interview hasn't even started.
Oh, it'll pop up.
That's okay.
Right in the middle of a question, I'll say it.
All right, really quickly, going to jump back in, and I want to thank Knights of Columbus for Munger. They pledged $500. The Knights of Columbus in Victoria got it started earlier with $750. Knights of Columbus in Munger, thank you so very much. They just pledged $500, so their donation becomes $1,000 with those matching funds. Mark and Dora Liker also want to thank you very much. They pledged $250, so that becomes a $500 pledge. So with our matching funds, we just got pledges of $1,500. Get my tongue going there. And we want to thank you all for those pledges, Knights of Columbus, Mark and Dora Liker, and everybody else who pledges. If you would like to pledge with them, call 785-621-4110. Let's use up those matching funds. All right, let's get back with talking with Kevin Rupp. We're going to be talking about, awesome, pipes and prayer. Like, are you talking about like My Wonderful Pipes? Oh, no, I'm just kidding. People are now going to leave. Turn off. No, please don't turn off. We've got a great interview here with Kevin. He's going to be talking about ministry of music. So, Kevin, you've been playing the organ for a long time, sir, which is an awesome thing.
Fritz.
What?
Fritz.
Okay, you're going to have to explain this.
That's the other dog. Fritz.
Oh, okay. I was like, is my hair fritzy? Like, I don't even have enough hair for it to be fritzy. All right, thank you, Fritz. We got the last dog's name. All right, so what drew you to playing the organ in the first place? What age did you start playing? I'm interested in knowing because I've known you for a long time, but I don't know this background.
Well, when I was younger, Mom would have all these Christmas records, and they would just have Christmas music, and there was always the organ on there, and I just loved the sound of the organ. My grandfather was an organist at St. Severin, which is a church about 10 miles, give or take, north of Hayes. He was an organist there for 61 years. Before that, he played in Catherine for a number of years. His dad was the choir director and organist out of Catherine before that. So that kind of prompted me, gave me interest into it. But I think what really got me going into it, is when I was just a little kid and I went to St. Joseph's Church and we went to midnight mass. And this was probably back in the late 60s. And back then, the choir still sang the Latin Mass. I mean, it wasn't the whole Latin Mass. It was just the sung part. And it was just so beautiful. And they sang the German hymns, and just the sound of that organ just, stirred my soul, if you can say that.
Absolutely. Because when I walk into a church and I see a pipe organ, by the way, I am not musically inclined at all. So I'm absolutely in awe of those people who are, But when you walk in and you see an organ and then you see an organist and you're like, oh, we're actually getting the organ. That immediately goes, oh boy, we're in for
Oh
something
yeah.
special here. So maybe you can give us some insight into this too. What's the difference between a piano and an organ? I mean, obviously we understand difference in sound, but what's it like? What's the difference in playing something like that?
Well, when you're playing the piano, a piano is a percussion instrument. So when you're playing it, you're striking the keys. You're actually, pushing down on that ivory, and it has a hammer, and it's hitting that string, which makes a sound. And you can hit it harder and harder and harder, and it'll sound louder and louder and louder. With an organ, it's totally different. The sound is different. The touch is different. You're not you're not banging on the keys. You can be gently playing them. Um, when you play a key, it releases the air on a pipe organ anyway. It sends a signal to the relay system, and it releases the air from the compressors going up into the pipes to make the sound. So if you want to make that sound louder, you add more volume by adding more pipes, more stops, or you open up your swell box.
Wow.
That's the difference in it.
So that sounds, I mean, my kids play the piano. Once again, I don't, sadly. But I know that even the playing the piano, that's a difficult thing to learn. But it sounds like the organ takes it up a notch because, as you said, this takes. It sounds. I'm not saying that once again that playing the piano is just easy because it's obviously not.
Right.
But it sounds like it takes some real finesse when you're playing the organ because you can't just bang and make it louder.
Right.
You have to really mix the components you need to bring forth the sound you want.
Right. You got a little fellow up there who's in his folk room choir, and he likes to turn my pages, and I let him do that. So he's learning piano, and so he wants to play the organ. And so he plays the piano and he's banging on the keys. I said, now when you play the organ, you can't bang on the keys. And I showed him this is the way you do it. And you can tell the difference in the sound when you're playing too. So
Wow, that is awesome. Want to break in really quickly. I want to thank Troy and Geraldine Shippers. So Troy is one of our board members. Troy and Geraldine, they are great people from over in Victoria. They pledged $500. Thank you so very much, Troy and Geraldine. They're wonderful people, wonderful Catholic folks. Like I said, Troy gives of his time as one of our members on our board, and want to thank them so very much for everything that they do. They sent their kids over here to Thomas More Prep Marion to go to school here, and their kids are off doing wonderful things. They still have one there, and so thank you very much for everything you do for our community, for over there in Victoria also, and for your pledge of $500, which becomes a $1,000 donation with our matching funds. So join with Troy and Geraldine Shippers. Call 785-621-4110. That's 785-621-4110. Because what just happened is it's not just oh yeah, I've got some extra money here, let's toss that. It's actually a belief in I want to help the mission of this station. The mission of this station is about helping to save souls. Wherever we can put the truth out there, wherever we can proclaim the gospel better, that's what we're going to do with our radio station. And that's what we do with the funds that we bring in, is to make sure that we have the equipment we need, make sure that we have the employees that we need to make sure it's all running correctly, to give you guys that local programming that you love, to help those people out there who are driving down I-70 to be able to hear this gospel message. So please partner with us. Call 785-621-4110, and we will continue getting this content out there for everybody who needs it. We are in here talking with Kevin Rupp about Pipes and Prayer, a ministry of music, and we're going to get right back to him after I thank an anonymous donation We just got an anonymous donor of $2,000. So with our matching funds, that becomes a $4,000 donation. They must just really like you, Kevin. So once you came in, man, people are like, bing, bang, boom. So yeah, people love the organ. That's what's going on. So let's get more organs into more masses. But we want to thank you, whoever that anonymous donor is. Thank you so very much for that $2,000 donation. Thank you for those people who gave us the matching funds, that $4,000 donation, that $1,000 donation of Troy and Geraldine Shippers who partnered with those donors. We appreciate that. Let's keep them coming. 785-621-4110. I also want to reread our first trivia question. I don't see that we got a winner to that. So if you would like to answer this trivia question, call 785-621-4110. The question is, what does GOH stand for in KGOH? Is it give out hope? Is it gate of heaven? Is it graciously opening hearts? Or is it gratitude, openness, and happiness? What does GOH stand for in KGOH? Is it A, give out hope? Is it B, gate of heaven? Is it C, graciously opening hearts? I will give you a clue. It is not D, gratitude, openness, and happiness. So is it A, B, or C? 785-621-4110. We'll get you put into that drawing. Call 785-621-4110. Give us your guess. Give us a donation, and we will do the best we can with it, which is always what we need to do to continue proclaiming the message of Christ. Let's get back to Kevin Rupp and a ministry of music. All right. Kevin, like I've said, I love the organ. Love seeing that when I get there, like, okay, it does add something to the worship. But what would you say makes the pipe organ especially suited for Catholic liturgy?
Well, in the documents, it says that the organ is basically the king of instruments. It is the instrument that is specifically for the worship in church.
Wow.
Everything else aside, this is the one. I think it works well in support, especially if it's in back, it supports the people.
I think it too is one of those things where, it just, as we've talked, there's something to it that you can't get that sound, obviously, out of any other instrument. And if you've ever been to a wedding or anything like that, or Easter vigil, or, you get to the end, and the organist just blows the pipes out, and there's just great, I mean, you get a sense of the angels, and everybody worshiping together at the mass. It really almost, to me, brings that sense down to you that, what is happening here is real.
Yeah, it should help lift you,
Yeah.
Transcendent, to get you into that prayerful thought.
And I think you used the right word there. It is one of those, because it's so beautiful, it is one of those transcendentals.
Mm-hmm.
Beauty takes you out of yourself and lifts you to something greater. And so
Exactly.
if you want to continue with that a little.
Yeah, the piano is great. A lot of parishes use the piano, but I still think the organ is probably the best instrument for the church. Specifically, I guess, for ours, because of the way it's built.
Yeah.
But not everyone can afford that too.
Yeah.
Or not everyone plays that, unfortunately. You go into many churches now and you see a piano, a grand piano, and that's what they use.
Yeah.
To me, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it would be nice. And you hit the nail on the head there. Like, not everybody can afford that. Unfortunately, not even every church has room for it. And those are unfortunate circumstances. So it is a beautiful thing that we do have pianos there. But if you can find a church that does have the organs, and visit it once in a while, like St. Joseph's, which does bring us to, I think, a next good point. Can you give us some history on the organ that you guys have? Maybe tell us, some history on the size, the builder, any unique qualities it has, or anything else that you think is interesting for us to know about the organ here at St. Joseph's.
Well, sure. Yeah, I think in order to do that, we need to go back in years and some history. Around 1926, we had a Hammond organ, which I can't remember if that was from seeing if it was up front or it was probably up in the choir loft. Rich Dreiling was the organist at the time. He played from the 30s until about probably the early 50s. And during his tenure, toward the end of that, they did purchase a new pipe organ that the maker was the Wicks Company, and the organ was purchased for $11,000. Now, try to buy an organ now for that price. It's just, it can't be done. A good pipe organ.
What would a pipe organ now cost? Any idea?
Well, the one we put in St. Joe's was $250,000
Wow.
at the time. Of course, this was in the early 90s.
Wow. So who knows what it would be? Wow. I'm going to have to look that up later, but don't let me derail you. Continue.
Okay. So they purchased this organ, and Ray Witcher was our organist from the 50s, say about 53 to about 88. He was the organist for that. And that time, if you look in St. Joe's and you look back, right now you see a stained glass window in the back with St. Cecilia, and I think this here is St. Thaddeus or St. Jude. And at that time, the pipes were in that window area, and there was a divider in the middle that divided the different set of pipes, like the swell from the grate. And there was a wood facade in front of that with the shutters to help with the volume. But over the years, the organ started deteriorating, and the stops that you'd pull out, the little knobs, they would basically kind of crumble in your hand. I remember when I would substitute for Ray, I'd pull out a knob and it would just kind of deteriorate in my hand. The pedals had holes in them. Then I think the bellows, which produces the wind to go through the pipes, were even starting to deteriorate and have holes in them. So it became necessary to look into replacing that organ. That was the same year that they did other things like paint the church. So it was a big capital campaign that St. Joseph's did at that time. So they replaced the organ with a combination of a Wicks Rogers, and part of it was electronic. So if the pipes went down, the electronics would kick in. There are many times when we'd have a thunderstorm, lightning storm, where lightning would either hit the Methodist church or hit our towers anywhere close. It would knock out the board for the organ. And so when I would go into play the next day, the shutters on the organ on the case would not open. So I could always tell, well, something happened to the organ. But the electronics would work, but the pipe system would not. So that, that's one thing we always had to watch for.
Uh-huh.
And so then they put all these, power strips everywhere to kind of prevent that. And thank God we haven't had that problem.
Okay.
For a number of years.
Let me break in really quickly, and then I will get back to we're talking with Kevin Rupp about a ministry of music, talking about the pipe organ in St. Joseph's, and we'll get to more of that in just a minute. First, I wanted to congratulate Alan Stein, who is our trivia winner from Great Bend. So Alan's question was, what does GOH stand for in KGOH? And it was B, Gate of Heaven. So congratulations to Alan. We will get you put in that drawing at the end of the day for that gift certificate to Messenger Traditional Catholic Books and Gifts here in Hayes. And we'll get to another question here in about 10 minutes or so. I also want to thank an anonymous donor of $1,000 with our matching funds. That becomes a $2,000 pledge. And then another anonymous donor of $2,000, which becomes a $4,000 pledge. And so we want to thank you very much for our anonymous donors, for all of those who are donating and letting us put your name out there, because it does help us, helps other people to see, oh wow, they've given, I think that maybe I could do that too. Wherever the spirit is tugging at you, we appreciate all donations. Obviously, those big ones help us a lot, but of all of those people who give $10 a month, $20, anybody who gives us $100 donation, $250 donation, whatever it is, every donation helps us, especially when we have those matching funds. We started the day with $43,408 in matching funds. We started off with $5,235 of funds toward our goal. We want to make it to $125,000 at the end of the week. And you folks are chipping at it so wonderfully. Thank you so much for all those donors. Help us to join with them. Call 785-621-4110. That's 785-621-4110. Let's get those phones ringing some more. Thank you all so much. Help us to continue proclaiming the gospel. Back to talking with Kevin Rupp about a ministry of music. So Kevin, we talked a little bit about the history of the pipe organ that you guys have, but also, can you give us some insight into the size of it? Is this
Sure.
normal? I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there, myself included, that just don't really understand a lot about organs. So any information you can give us on it is going to be new and insightful.
Well, I figured you'd probably ask me that, so I double checked all my figures and everything. But the organ itself has 57 ranks. 14 of those ranks have to deal with wood sounds like flutes and whatnot. The rank consists of 61 pipes, and our organ does have 856 pipes. So there is a lot of pipes up there. And when they did we basically kept the pipes from the old organ and added it to it. We enhanced the organ. So if you go up to choir loft and you see these pipes that are textured, and you see the pipes that are smooth. The smooth are the new ones. The textured are the old ones. It has 4 divisions, which be great, swell, positive, and of course the pedal. It also has chimes, which I play usually around Christmas time. Has a harpsichord, which I hardly ever play.
What does it take to, and maybe you don't know this, but what does it take to clean something like that? How often does it need to be cleaned? Do you have any idea? Or
we have a guy from Hayes that comes in. He is organ services of Hayes.
Okay.
He continued. Steve DeMuth had retired, and so he took over that position. And so he comes in about twice a year, once before Christmas, once before Easter, and he goes in and tunes the organ. Years ago, we had these little bugs, and we called them little Democrat. They were called Democrats, That's just what they were called back then.
Oh, okay.
But they were just little bitty bugs that would crawl along the wall, and they would fall into the pipes. And so whenever you played it, they would make this rattling sound. And so they finally had to go in there and take the pipes out, empty the pipes, and put little screens in there to clean them out. That's just one of the ways that they had to, service the organ. Okay. There are big speakers in there that do give the sound of like a 32-foot pipe. And those speakers are probably 40 some years old. So eventually those will have to be redone too, replaced, because, like any speaker, they eventually wear out.
Yeah. So this is not a small undertaking.
No, it's not.
Okay. So he doesn't just come in and take an air compressor and go, psh, psh, you're good.
Not really. No, he has a compass with him and he tunes it. So someone's at the organ and they press the key to get the sound, and he's over there and with his monitor checking the sound, and then he tunes it.
Okay.
On each pipe. So you're thinking he's got to tune about 861 pipes. So it
Holy
does take
smokes.
him pretty much of the day to do that.
I would imagine so. Wow.
Yeah.
So we've got the organ, it's cleaned out, it's ready to go. Christmas is coming up. So
Yes, it
he'll be
is.
doing that soon, I imagine then.
Yeah, we've been practicing.
Okay.
You know what? And then we're the only parish in the county that still has midnight mass. So
Okay.
we are so thankful that Father Fred allows us to do that.
Yeah, and that's always such a beautiful mass, which brings up a really great point. So when you're preparing for mass, because there's even if you don't have an organ, every parish has musicians. They have people who share their talent with the liturgy of the music, and so I'm kind of wondering, what does it take to prepare to be able to play for a mass, but not just musically, also spiritually? How do you get ready to be able to enter into the mass as you share your talent with the congregation?
Well, you have to, first of all, you have to pick the music. So the only way you can really pick the good music is you have to read the readings for that Sunday and the antiphons and find the music that actually fits with the readings. For communion, those should be bread songs that relate to us receiving the Eucharist, you know. So, or the feast of the day. Like Christmas, of course, you're gonna do Christmas songs. Easter, you'll do Easter songs. Ordinary time, there's some leeway in there of what music you can pick for ordinary time, but you still want to relate it to the readings of the day. So then usually when I go in, I like to get to about 30 minutes ahead of time and just sit there and just kind of pray and just kind of relax, before everything starts usually. But sometimes that doesn't work that way because you want to make sure that the servers are there, the sacristan's there, everybody knows what they're doing, the choir has their pieces ready, the cantor has their stuff ready. So, but at least a little time just to sit and just kind of clear your mind before you start.
Okay. Are there any specific prayers that you start with, or is it kind of just whatever, more impromptu of Lord,
Probably
I need a lot of help today?
probably more impromptu, like, oh God, let's get this through without making any funny notes.
Okay, I want to break in and get ready to do our second trivia question of the hour. So, if you are just joining us, if you have been listening for a while, if you're a veteran listener, that number to call is 785-621-4110. That's 785-621-4110. For anybody who doesn't know how this goes, if you call that number, if you get the guess right, and if you're the first one to get it, we put you in a drawing. And then at the 6 o'clock hour, we draw every day, once per day at that time, for one winner, and they get a gift certificate to Messenger Traditional Catholic Books and Gifts here in Hayes. Jerome and Angela Schmeidler are the owners and operators of that store, and I believe they're parishioners at St. Joseph's, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So wonderful people, wonderful family. Even if you don't win it, I always say, please go down and support them. It's such a beautiful atmosphere in their store. You walk in and you immediately feel at home. Jerome and Angela, they are such gracious people. They're so welcoming. Sometimes their daughters are in there helping them. And so it's an amazing store. Before you go and buy on Amazon or anywhere else, please go and check their store. Even if they don't have it, very often Jerome can get you something, and he can probably get it for you for the same price you're going to buy it on those other places anyway. And what a way to support our local community. And we want to thank them for supporting us. But without further ado, here we go. Here is your question for the 9:30 time slot. What does JDM stand for in KJDM? Is it A, Jesus' divine mercy? Is it B, just do more? Is it C, join and do more? Or is it D, jump, dive, and move? Sometimes these questions. All right. What does JDM stand for in our call sign KJDM? Is it A, Jesus' divine mercy? Is it B, just do more? Is it C, join and do more? It's not D. I'm just going to get rid of that one. I don't like it. It's not D. A, B, or C. 785-621-4110. Is it? What does JDM stand for? Jesus is divine mercy. Just do more, or join and do more. 785-621-4110. All right. We actually also have a question from Allison Ochoa. So Allison is part of our board. Allison works closely with Kevin. Kevin's grimacing a little bit. We are online too, so people can see you grimacing. So here is Allison's question, because he's like, oh no, what's this going to be? But this is a good question. First, Kevin, what is your favorite song to play? And have you ever pulled out all the stops? If so, what does that feel like? So first, what's your favorite song to play?
My favorite song has always been Holy, Holy God, We Praise Thy Name. That's the one that my grandpa always played. That's probably one of the very first hymns that I learned. And a number of years ago, when Raymond Witcher was still organist up there, toward the end of his life, he was getting pretty sickly. And he was playing, and this was at the end of Mass, and the choir was singing, and he didn't have any music up on the rack, and he started playing that. He got sick right in the middle of the song. So he motioned to one of the soprano ladies to motion to me, because I was singing the choir at the time, to come up there. So I went up there and sat on the bench right next to him. He had me put my fingers under his fingers as he was playing. And when I had my fingers in those keys of that song, then he lifted his hand, and then they took him to the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
So that is one song that I know by heart, but that was such an awesome feeling that, how we connected like that, how he was playing and I was able to put my fingers underneath his and continue.
Wow.
So that is probably one of my favorite stories. Have I ever opened it up?
I think that's what it was. Basically, have you ever just blasted the pipes out?
I do like to open it up to a certain point, as much as I know I can. But that organ has so much volume to it, I think, because usually, when you play, your generals are like 8, 4, and 2.
I don't even know what that means.
Those are the feet of the pipes: 8 foot, a 4 foot,
okay,
and a 2 foot, like a principal, an octave, and a super octave. And if you play those, you're going to blow everybody out of church. And I'll have probably more people complaining than I do now that I play too loud. So I just learned over years that actually that organ is probably maybe a little bit too powerful for St. Joe's. The one we had before, the Wicks organ, I just loved that organ. It had such a beautiful, rich tone to it. And you could just crank that thing up, and you would close the shutters. Of course, all the pipes were back in that alcove, and they had a facade in front of it. And you can close those doors and pull the stops, as they would say, and just let her rip. And it was just so beautiful. If I tried that with that organ here, it would probably blow out the windows and people would be screaming at me.
Is there ever a point where it becomes dangerous to the organ itself, or are they made to handle whatever is thrown at them?
No, I think they're made to handle,
okay,
whatever you throw at them. But like I said, of course, the speakers will deteriorate. So there's a little clicking now I've noticed when I play on the speakers. So
okay. So mostly you're worried about people's eardrums and the stained glass not being ruined.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. So one more quick break here. Thank you, Allison, for asking that question. I want to remind people that she is on our board, a wonderful person, does so much for our community, has a great family. Want to thank her for that question and for everything she does. I want to congratulate Paulette Reichert, who is very faithful to the station, listens all the time. Also, thank you, Paulette, for winning that trivia question. I guess congratulations for winning that trivia question. The question was, what does JDM stand for in KJDM. My wife tells me I need to slow down, and I think she's right. What does JDM stand for in KJDM? The correct answer there is Jesus's divine mercy. So we will get Paulette Riker entered into that drawing for that gift certificate to Messenger, traditional Catholic books and gifts. I also want to thank Alice Fox, who pledged $100 on top of her monthly pledge. Alice is a relation of mine through my wife. She is such a wonderful lady, does so much for our diocese. And if you've ever been to Salina and done anything over there at the Chancery, been to one of the big celebrations, she helps with all the cooking and stuff. They're so very faithful in listening to us. And thank you for your pledge on top of your monthly pledge that you already give, Alice. We appreciate that. If you want to join with Alice, who gave that extra $100 on top of her monthly pledge, which becomes $200 thanks to our matching fund donors, you can do so by calling 785-621 4110. That's 785-621-4110. Let's keep chipping away at that goal. Let's make it to $125,000 by the end of the week. Call 785-621-4110 or get on to dvmercy.com and you can help join there in our mission of saving souls. Let's get back to talking with Kevin Rupp about a ministry of music. So Kevin, I know that there's obviously guidelines to music, and rightly so, even for weddings and things like that, because you don't really want people coming in and playing like AC/DC and stuff like that. That's a really good thing that we have guidelines. But aside from the guidelines, what is it that you look into when you're looking at composers, styles that you would consider are essential for Catholic liturgical music?
Well, of course, you want to look at music that talks about God.
Yeah, that probably is a good thing to start with.
That's the thing. And we've had years ago, and thank God we've finally gotten away from this. But when I first started playing, I joined the choir when I was 18. So I started playing the organ probably when I was 23. And back then was as we call it, the happy clappy years, and they were they're experimenting with music. How far can we push this? So they used a lot of country western music for weddings, and so that is probably something that we've been able to kind of push away and go back to. What we're looking at is the love of God in our marriage, bringing God into our marriage, and not worrying about, your boots or your whatever,
Thank you for that.
But having a marriage that's God-centered. That's what we pushed for. So over the years, that has finally come around, and music has finally been changed to that. They're picking better music now than they used to.
Yeah. So
which is good.
When you're looking at it, then and whether it's for a wedding or liturgical seasons, you mentioned some of this earlier, but what are some of the other things that you take into consideration in choosing the music for that specific celebration?
Well, it depends upon the celebration. Like if it's a wedding, it's the two coming together as one, blessed by God. So you're looking at those type of, and love. So you're looking for that type of music. If you're looking at funerals, you're looking at comfort, but still keeping in mind that God is the ultimate goal here. Zippity Doodah that was done for a wedding one time just really doesn't cut the mustard for good liturgical music.
Correct.
So you got to look at that. What is really good church-wise, music-wise, and like some say, well, if it's out of the missal, then that's acceptable. So
okay, so Uh, do you have any favorite composers that you really kind of lean toward?
Probably my most favorite composer has always been J.S. Bach. When I studied in college, of course, I took theory 1 and 2, and I really did like theory because then you start learning how to sing like up a third, down a third, up a fourth, up a fifth, stuff like that. Don't ask me to do that, but it was good background for what I'm doing now. But I remember I had to do a paper on Bach's Magnificat, how you take that song that he wrote, and there's a constant theme through that whole piece, and how he interwove it through the whole musical composition. So Bach is probably my favorite. So probably basically Baroque music is what I really like.
Okay, and
And of course, Gregorian chant and polyphony music, music of the church. I mean, I just have always loved music of the church.
okay, and for those of us who aren't musically inclined, can you explain to us when you talk about Baroque, what do you mean there? How could we better understand what you're talking about?
It's just the time period.
Okay.
Um, like Jesu Joy of Manzazaring, if you hear that,
Uh-huh.
that was written in that time period,
Okay.
that tune.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
just the time period. It's the style of music.
Okay. So one of the things that we talked about this earlier, that music is one of those things that is transcendent. It can be a transcendental because beauty, which music, when somebody does music well, it is a very beautiful thing. And it does help us then to transcend the normal everyday life. Um, and even at mass, unfortunately, sometimes things get normal and
Oh,
mundane to
sure.
us. Um, but music is one of those things that helps us within the mass to not just be mundane. And I'm not saying that mass ever is, because mass without music is mass. That's
Right.
not what we're saying. But it is one of those things where music can help us to be able to lift our souls higher and see the beauty of the mass in a new light.
Mhm.
So I guess that's what I'm asking is, how do you see yourself in that role of being able to help the liturgy be able to be that thing that lifts people's souls and understands the beauty of this gift that God is giving us?
Well, I'm hoping that when I'm playing, and I know at St. Joe's, I hear this all the time. I hear people singing,
Uh-huh.
and they're singing robustly, you know, and they say that he who sings prays twice. You've heard that many times. And, our parish has been so lucky over the years to have had such a beautiful choir. I mean, ours is probably the only parish in Nelson County who has sustained a choir all these years. A lot of the parishes have had choirs, but maybe just seasonal. But yeah, that good music should raise people's hearts and soul to God. Should put you into a state of just relaxation, just helping you to listen to God and hear His voice as He speaks to you.
So then that kind of helps us to go back to talking about the organ itself. And I'm thinking about, we go back into the Old Testament. There's all kinds of themes of music. There's David dancing before the ark, and so there's this worship that's happening, and so we see that music is an important part of worship for a long time,
Yeah,
and that
all the Psalms
yeah,
were sung.
yeah,
You know,
exactly. The faithful Jewish people would sing the Psalms on their way to the temple.
yeah,
And so, as you're talking about that, we see that this is a very old tradition. This is a very good thing that God wants us to do. But even the organ itself, what has been the evolution of the organ within liturgy. So, we have the evolution of music and how it has come about, but been part of our liturgical worship
Hmm.
for eons.
Hmm.
How has the organ been a part of this, and where did it like come from? How has it evolved over the
I
years?
think over the years, the organ has been a part of liturgy by supporting the singer, um, and giving the mood, setting the tone in the early years of the church specifically. But as the Vatican II came around, it was more of a support to the people and singing of the hymns to get them to participate, active participation in the church.
I think that's really important for us as you're talking about that. So all of us people who are in the pews to understand how important that really is for us to join in. And God maybe didn't give me the greatest voice ever, but he does want me to give it back to him.
But you can still be active participant by praying in your head, listening to the music, let it reach to you, let it lift you up,
Oh, very good.
you know.
So, really quickly, want to take a very quick break to remind people that we're talking with Kevin Rupp. He's talking about pipes and prayer. So, we're talking about the organ and how it can move us, how it can bring us closer to God in understanding the beauty of music. And we're going to get right back to that in just a minute. As I want to remind everybody that you're listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Carathon, Light in the Darkness. We have these carathons twice a year, and these carathons help us to pay our employees, keep the lights on, keep everything going as we need to. And as I've said before, the end goal of all of that is how do we better proclaim the gospel? We get lots of feedback from all kinds of different people that they're driving along, they happen across our station, or somebody tells them about our station, they start listening, and then lo and behold, a year, 2 years go by, and now they're faithfully Catholic because of the programming that we're able to put out there. Another beautiful thing is the local programming that we have, and we're able to put out there with our priests, with other people. Even these interviews that we're doing now, we're able to replay them later and make them part of our One Body shows so that you can enjoy them again later, so that you can get the spiritual edification out of them once again and help you in your everyday lives. If you appreciate that and you want to join with us in our mission of saving souls, call 785-621 4110. That's 785-621-4110. We do still have those matching funds. We want to use those up. Call that number or go to dvmercy.com and donate. All right. Here we're getting right back to Kevin Rupp and a ministry of music. So, Kevin, we've got a few minutes left here. I want to just have us kind of talk a little bit about where do you see the role of the organ as we move forward, and anything else that you want to let us know about music ministry and the importance of it in the life of the liturgy.
Well, the role of the organ moving forward, it right now to me it looks kind of bleak in a way. You don't see many organists anymore like it used to be. I mean, you see a lot of people playing the pianos in the churches now, but trying to get an organist to play, to learn how to play it, there just isn't that many. So I'm just praying that at one time, sometime there'll be a resurgence of the love for this instrument again. When Alison Ochoa had called a little bit ago and asked, what my favorite hymn was, I think she may be a little bit thinking about a song that her son loves called "Oh God Beyond All Praising." She said the first time I played this, he just got up and he was so excited because this was the tune that he heard on the show Bluey.
Oh,
I've
really?
I've never seen that show,
I
but
haven't either.
it's a kid show on Nickelodeon, I guess. But I hope that people see the importance of the organ and its role in the Catholic Church, and just the beauty and dignity that it gives to our liturgy. It's just, it can be so moving, and I'm so blessed, really, to be able to go to work at St. Joe's and then play that organ on the weekends. It's funny, I'd get up in the mornings and I'd get up and I'd be ready to go to work and everything, and my wife would just look at me and she would just say, "You just, she grumbles, because I just spring out of bed, I'm ready to go to work, and she has to pull herself out of bed." But I love what I do. It's a little harder for me now to do what I love to do because of my eyes.
Uh-huh.
I had two torn retinas about 10 years ago. So I'm very grateful to the choir that puts up with me with, some sour notes now and then. But I do have to blow my music up so I can see my music now. But I just love playing the organ.
So how much preparation goes into one weekend of masses?
Okay, well, first I got to blow up all my music so I can see it well. And then of course I got to prepare the liturgy. I prepare liturgy sheets for all the readers and for the cantors, and then you go through the music, you play through it, and so over the years it's pretty much repetition. I
Uh-huh.
mean, you play the same Alleluia or same Alleluias for over 30 years. There was one Sunday where I was playing and my mind was reading the music, but my fingers were playing a different Alleluia. I'm going, what the heck? So I had to start all over again. So some of it can be so repetitious that, you're like when you drive a car,
Uh-huh.
you know where your home's at and you're there. All of a sudden you're at home and you're going, how did I get here?
Uh-huh.
That could be like playing the organ too. It's
Okay.
just, you've done it for so long. It's just repetitious,
Uh-huh.
and which is good at times.
But yet you still practice
You still
before.
practice and you go
Yeah.
over there. Like Wednesday nights, we have choir practice. And I'm usually there an hour ahead of time and I go through all the music, or I try to go over during the day if I can and get
Okay.
my music ready and play through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your time with us here today. Is there anything that you have left that you would like to pass on to us about music ministry?
Just keep singing. You know, your parishes love to hear you sing. So just
Yeah.
keep the music active in your parish.
And support those who are
Support
willing
those.
to give of their
Support
time.
those who are willing to give you this ministry. That's important.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much. We appreciate what you do and keep playing, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.
We've been in talking with Kevin Rupp about Pipes in Prayer, a ministry of music. Had a great conversation with him about the organ there at St. Joseph's and the importance of music in being able to help us lift our souls to heaven even more during the liturgy. You're listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Carathon, Light in the Darkness. We're going to have a quick break here. I think we're going to have Michael come in and get you guys some information on some things going on with the station. And then we'll be back to our